We ended up doing a lot of historical core assaying and drilling and doubling the resource to now 1,460,000 ounces. Our goal is to become a gold producer between these two assets and continue to buy and build. So our geologists use it to create a grade control model, which increased the amount of gold going through the mill by 20%. It's putting project valuation on warp speed.
Hello and welcome back to the next big rush. I am Fabi, and with me I have Alex Horsley of Emperor Metals. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Alex, I'm just going to start off by being completely honest with you. I heard about your company for the very first time at a metals investor forum way back several years ago in Canada. And I was looking through the presentation, very beautifully done. And I was looking at what you guys already had. You came right out of the gate with a resource. And I looked at your market cap and I saw such a big disconnect between what you had on paper and what your market cap showed that I was like, surely there's something wrong. And I didn't do my homework. And I regret it to this day because now obviously you've proven up the resource. You've got some amazing people on board who believe in the company and the resource and where you're going. And I've kind of missed that sort of, rise. I do believe that you have a lot more to go yet, but I want you to tell me, okay, what is the Flagship project? Why is it so special? And why should people, listen to your story?
I'll go back in time, 14 years ago when I first saw Rick Rule, one of our new shareholders, and he articulated that if you're investing in junior mining, you have to make sure every single box is ticked. So the foundation of Emperor Metals was to be able to sell the company to the Eric Sprots, the Rick Rules, the Rob McEwens of the world. And the foundation of the company was on technical excellence. So I focused on putting together the right people that I liked, that had success, that had honor, and a long track record for growing gold resource deposits, because that's what I wanted to focus on. Because I was looking at the monetary and fiscal irresponsibilities of our governments, and gold has always been a safe place to protect wealth. And I saw central banks accumulating gold, and that was the writing on the wall that gold was the place to be. So back in 2022, I was looking at our now flagship project, Duquesne West, and what stood out to me was the fact that it was in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. So we look at this area, not only a prolific and a geological trend where 200 million ounces of gold have been produced, it's also where there's 14 producing mining companies in the district, and you're surrounded by infrastructure. You've got power, water, airport, railway, civilization. Your exploration geologists, your drillers can go to Tim Hortons in the morning, grab their coffee, and it's still warm by the time they get on your project. They can go home and eat meatloaf and hang with their family. The capex and operating costs are so much cheaper than the entire world. So from a perspective of location, you don't get better than that. So it had originally a historical resource when I was looking at it of 727,000 ounces at 5.4 grams. It was high grade, 5.7 meter average thickness. So it was really attractive. And what people overlooked in this region was open pit mining potential. We identified in the eureka moment hitting in the quartz feldspar porphyry, where you're hitting in the host rock. And we ended up doing a lot of historical core assaying and drilling and doubling the resource to now 1,460,000 ounces. We incorporated the new conceptual open pit model that we developed into the new resource, and we see tremendous upside for growth, both in that open pit and underground. So the Flagship is a open pit underground model in the center of the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, surrounded by Agnico Eagle, where they have 9 producing mines and development projects. Rob McEwen's our largest shareholder to the west in the Ontario side, where he's in production at Gray and Black Fox. So Rob McEwen and McEwen Inc. have a front row seat. Recently, Rob appointed our CEO, John Florek, as director of McEwen Inc., which is very interesting. And potentially McEwen Inc. may try to take a run on us, but our focus is taking our new dual asset Lac Pelletier in production by 2028, simultaneously advancing Duquesne West, our flagship, and potentially, if we prove up enough gold in the feasibility study and we have all the documentation to support open pit production at Duquesne West, our goal is to become a gold producer between these two assets and continue to buy and build. So there's a much grander vision to become a mid-tier gold producer.
Big words, mid-tier gold producer.
That's the ultimate goal.
I like it. I like it. I was just reading one of the pieces of news that have come out recently regarding your resource expansion. And my question is, it looks as if your, cost per ounce discovered is something ridiculous like $7 an ounce.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
A big part of that is the incorporation of the open pit model. So you're going from a 3-gram cutoff in the historical underground to a 0.25 cutoff in open pit. So you're going to add a ton of resources there. We also lowered the 3-gram cutoff in the underground to as low as 1.15 in the underground. That's going to add a ton. We were very successful on the drill bit for about 17,000 meters and also about 10,500 meters of historical core assay. So it's a combination of really efficient drilling, historical core assaying that was cheap, and also adding a very significant amount of ounces with lowering cutoff grades because gold is no longer 1,100 when the historical resource was done in 2011. You're at 3,300. And the 43-101 we did was actually very conservative. They used 2,300 USD gold price. So the optionality is that we think these resources are getting much bigger. And the disconnect that you mentioned earlier, I think there's still a massive disconnect. Since you first started looking at it, we've gone up something like 300 or 400%. But if you compare us to our peer group, you can see our presentation. Look at the resources of our peers, look at their market caps compared to us. And I think there's a compelling case that we are still tremendously undervalued.
Yeah, no, I can see that for sure. And it's right there on the presentation.
Yeah.
Have you guys been using AI at all in your exploration efforts? I know a few companies have been using it. Some of them are using it and not really telling the public. So I want to know, what is your take on it, and does it actually help at this point?
Oh, I got to ask you, do you use Grok or Chat GPT or anything?
Every single day.
Yeah, so do I. So AI is a tool that's going to be applicable to every industry in the world. It's no different than exploration and mining. So our geologist, John Florek, used it for Detour Lake back in 2016. He went there and used it to create a grade control model, which increased the amount of gold going through the mill by 20%. Same model that Agnico Eagle uses today. So you increase the amount of gold going through the mill by 20%. That's incredible. So the models
that completely changes the financials of a project completely.
Totally. So he used AI and machine learning for Emperor Metals, and we won awards for those models. You're taking huge data sets and you're turning into models and information very quickly, like in weeks' time, whereas conventionally, historically, you're looking at years with multiple people doing it. It's putting project valuation on warp speed.
Tell me a little bit about the people that you have first within the company, working either directly for the company or the management team, or on your board, giving you support and advice.
We're anchored by John Williamson, who's a builder and long 35-year history of building companies, growing gold resource deposits. Between our team, 12 buyouts for something like $15 billion, integral parts in those happening, notably Kirkland Lake, Corriente, Kaminak, North Country Gold, Brilliant Mining, etc. In fact, some of our members are part of Kaminak, sold to our largest shareholder, Rob McEwen and Gold Corp for 520 million. John Flork is from, BHP, biggest producer of metals in the world. Agnico Eagle, third largest gold producer, most profitable gold producer in the world. Placer Teck, Barrick, where he got Developer of the Year awarded with his team for Hemlo. John LeBruck, our VPX, who worked with him at Hemlo. We've got Sean Major, partner of John Williamson in the Metals Group, which I'm a part of. Ian Harris, who's sponsored by Frank Justra with his Outcrop Silver and Copper Giant, which I think are both great opportunities. You have a world-class team with a long history of buyouts, and we've got sponsorship, obviously, with Robert McEwen, our largest shareholder, who's invested twice. Rick Rule is a large shareholder, and we were talking to a number of strategics. Exceptional technical excellence that makes my job easy.
Yeah, I remember Kaminak very fondly because I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first company I held that got bought out, and that was a nice little profitable trade for me. It was a very obvious trade, right? It's like the market wasn't giving it it was giving it credit, right? I mean, it wasn't left for dead or anything. It was a very high quality discovery. And it was an obvious takeout, and you just had to buy it and sit. And that's what I did. I love just buying companies with a resource where you take a look at the market cap, you take a look at what they have, and you're like, okay, that's it. I'm just going to sit on this, and they're going to get better. They're going to improve this resource. They're going to work it out. And if the price moves in my favor, great, but it doesn't have to. And I can just do nothing. That is the perfect setup for me. What you said about infrastructure is very important as well. I can't stress this enough, and I think it's going to become even more of a topic going forward, that projects within, close by, etc., infrastructure are probably going to get a nice premium when they do get bids, because
good point.
If you're being bought by your neighbor who already has infrastructure, guess what? Their financial is going to be completely a different profile than what you're imagining somebody to come in and build everything from scratch. This is in the uranium world. That's like if somebody decided to buy NextGen and Fission, one of them would have a very different capex profile, because you don't need to build everything for the two companies. You build it for the region. And that's already built in the Abitibi. You don't have to build that out. It's already there. So you're standing on the shoulders of a long history of gold mining in probably one of the best jurisdictions in the world. But I'm speaking my own book here when I talk about Quebec and that whole region there for gold. Alex, what is going to happen moving forward? So you spent a bit of money and you've invested in growing your resource. You've just about doubled it. And what comes next? Are you going to be drilling more? When are you going to be doing that? What's the timeline here?
We want to start drilling 8 to 10,000 meters in August and start delivering results in the fall. Maybe a phase 2 drilling campaign on Duquesne West. Waiting for the results of a gap study in Lac Petier, which will help us update the future updated feasibility study and resource on that project. It has production permits until 2030. So we want to use that gap study to extend those permits beyond 2030, because the intention is to take that in production at some point with a toll processing agreement or purchasing mill for both projects. So there's a lot on the horizon. Updated resource feasibility site for Lac Peltier. Hopefully within 12 months, we can update the resource again for Duquesne West. So there's a lot of potentially creative news releases coming. And that's really the optionality of the story, is that not only do I think we're tremendously undervalued to our peers relative to our resources and respected market caps, but the optionality that I think that generalist capital is coming back to the junior mining sector, that the entire ocean is rising, and the best deals, the boats will rise the fastest and highest. But we do think these resources are going to get considerably bigger, and that's all we want to do is drill, build it. If you build it, they will come. And more to your point about the location, we're quite literally surrounded by Agnico Eagle. And they bought out Marban for they bought out O3 Mining for Marban, which is directly adjacent to Canadian Malartic.
Mm-hmm.
Canadian Malartic will need 40,000 tons of ore additionally in 2028. Also, I believe their Laron mine is under capacity, among others. Their Holt Mill complex and tailings pond is a 30-minute drive away, sitting not in production. And of course, largest shareholders down the road with McEwen Inc. So we want to go in production. We want to be a mid-tier gold producer and have ideas to buy and build. Fully capable of doing it. We've taken mines in production. We financed them to production. But in years to come, if the big enough offer is made, as Frank said last week at Rule Symposium, I was at, buy early, buy large, be patient. Full disclosure, I'm biased. I'm the largest shareholder, one of the largest shareholders, founder of the company. Do your own due diligence. But I think we're in the beginning of a really exciting cycle. You want to be looking at companies that have resources in the ground, brownfields projects in the right area, the right management team with successful history, looking at the right market caps relative to their peers, and I think it's just a super exciting time and where we're on this in this cycle.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I do. I'm not as biased as you are, for sure. This is my stamp of approval here. Awesome. Where can people find out more, Alex? How can they follow the company?
Go to emperormetals.com. Call me or John Flork, the CEO of the company. Always available for phone call conversations or email dialogue. Yeah, investors can call me anytime.
Cool. No problem. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm sure people will start scratching the surface and trying to figure out if this fits in their portfolio. What I try to tell people is like, look, I only bring companies on here when I think that they are going somewhere. There are companies that are interesting, but they're not really doing anything, and it's just not the right time for them. So when I bring a company on here, it's like, okay, you got to take a look at this because I think the timing is right for this. I like to be early, as you guys know. And I think we're fairly early for this story, even though I heard about it several years ago. I think now it's in a much better position to actually, be one of those names that becomes more and more popular and just catches a really nice bid. So, Alex, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much.
And I will definitely be following the story. Add it to your watch list. That's my recommendation. Yeah. It's not financial recommendation, but it's behavioral recommendation.
Yeah.
And I'll catch you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much. Let's do this again.